and you're watching Viewpoint. It is an unfortunate day today, as we have lost our brave hearts to an infiltration bid by terrorists trained in Pakistan. Right now, the hunt is underway for terrorists involved in the Anantnag encounter that killed an army colonel, a major, and a Jammu and Kashmir Police Deputy Superintendent of Police. In fact, 2 terrorists have been encircled by the army as the operation continues in the Pir Panjal area of Jammu and Kashmir. Remember, it's been established that the terror machinery emanating out of Pakistan has gone on to bleed India again and claim the life of our best and the brightest. Terrorists continue to cross the line of control into India, even as Pakistan says that it does not endorse terror, adding that the nation itself is a victim of terror. But this has reignited the debate over the sporting ties that go on between India and Pakistan. India recently, remember, played Pakistan, decisively defeating the country in an early stage of the Asia Cup. Now, if Pakistan wins the cricket match against Sri Lanka this evening, India will be playing against the team this Sunday. Next month, we'll also see an India-Pakistan face-off in the World Cup in Ahmedabad. Now, while we have seen the freezing of film ties between the two nations, many are now calling for sports ties to be permanently snapped. While parties from the Kashmir Valley have called for dialogue with Pakistan, many parties, even from the India Alliance, have said that dialogue, sports and cultural exchanges cannot continue if terror persists. So we are asking if it is really time to completely axe sports ties with Pakistan and leverage India's clout in global sports to isolate Pakistan, or whether sports, art and culture should have to undergo this politicking. That is also the big question that we are asking here.
जब तक कोई रास्ता न ढूंढा जाए जिससे अमन आ सके, लड़ाई से अमन नहीं आता है, बातचीत से अमन आता है। कहीं ये गैर मुल्की किसी और मुल्क से तो नहीं है।
जब आतंकी माहौल बनाती है पाकिस्तान, तो उनके साथ किसी तरीके का संवाद नहीं होना चाहिए। स्पोर्ट्स ग्राउंड पे हो या किसी सोशल ग्राउंड पे हो, किसी कल्चरल ग्राउंड पे हो या किसी तरीके का बायलैटरल रिलेशनशिप हो।
इसे सबक लेना चाहिए इस गवर्नमेंट को, दिल्ली की गवर्नमेंट को, कि कश्मीर में हालात अभी मामूल पर नहीं आए हैं और ये प्रोपेगेंडा हो रहा है मामूल पर है।
अगर उसके ऊपर दबाव डालना है तो उसको अलग थलग करना पड़ेगा। नॉर्मल चीजों के अंदर हमारे साथ रिश्ता तब तक नहीं कर सकते जब तक आप खुद नॉर्मल नहीं हो।
Let's now give you a memory jog. Let's tell you how terror has impacted sporting, cultural and cricketing ties between India and Pakistan and what has happened in the past. Let's take a look at instances one by one. Remember, after 1993 Mumbai blasts, the ODI tour in Pakistan in 1997, that was massively impacted. This was a showdown of terror over cricket that continues. 2001, after the parliament attacks that of course had a backing of Pakistan, test series in India and Pakistan in 2004 were happening. At that time, also this particular conversation had started. 2008, Mumbai attacks, remember the big one that is very, very fresh in everyone's memory. India, in fact, exited from the 2009 series. This is where it all started, where India decided to take those decisive steps, and when there was entire discussion on how film and sporting ties need to be completely snapped between the two nations if this terror angle really persists. India-Pakistan clash in World Cup semis in 2011. That was another time that the two nations really came together. If we go further, if we take a look at 2016 Pathankot attack, Asia Cup clash was happening in 2018, where again India and Pakistan were facing off against one another. Further off, 2019, the Pulwama attack, BCCI in fact then also sought a ban from ICC of Pakistan, from the International Cricketing Council. That was an important aspect that was discussed back then, and because of which we are also talking about how whether or not this should be the conversation that needs to be started once again, especially after what we have seen happen in Anantnag today. Let me actually take this across to my guests who are joining me on Viewpoint this evening. In fact, all the guests are with me. Anshul Avijit of the Congress Party is with us on the broadcast. Also with us is Major General A.K. Sivash, who's joining us on the broadcast, and Jahangir Ali, who's a journalist, is also with us. Anshul, I'll start with you. The fact that the conversation around snapping of ties between the two nations, especially sporting ties, even as the Asia Cup is underway, there's a World Cup coming up, has again started. What is the Congress's stand on it, considering your alliance partners and many members of the Congress in the India bloc are still supporting conversation, dialogue, opening of channels between the two nations?
Well, I'm not sure this is really the question we should be asking at this point of time when such a terrible incident has taken place and the Prime Minister has been busy since yesterday, in this self-congratulatory mode, celebrating the success of the G20 with showers and petals over his head while an incident went on in Anantnag which led to the sacrifice of our security personnel. No doubt later, the very blood that is spilt on our borders will be used for politics, for the elections. As many people in the army have told us, this is going to be a very challenging time on the borders because incidents of this nature tend to increase when there is an election year. And no doubt the BJP will be there, the Prime Minister will be there to capitalize on it. I want to remind you of the Pulwama incident that happened before the 2019 elections, in which many revelations have come out, in which the Prime Minister was busy doing a video shoot in the foothills of the Himalayas, actually portraying his courage and his resilience in a documentary, while 40 personnel were mercilessly killed by an RDS which was floating around in the state for a long time. A severe failure of our intelligence agencies, of the government in that state, for which there is severe indictment of the Modi government, and also of the revelations that came from Mr. Satyapal Malik during that time, that we all know about, that you had such a large security personnel and contingent which actually went by road when they should have been flown in by air. They asked for planes which were not given. They were sitting ducks. So how much the government cares about the security of the personnel is there to be seen. It certainly cares about playing politics with their blood. These are the real questions that we should be asking. Are the people safe in Jammu and Kashmir? Are the migrant labor safe? Are the Kashmiri Pandits safe? Are the civilians safe? Are the security personnel safe? I mean, this is a side story. This will happen. The government, the sporting contacts, cultural contacts will happen, will unfold as they always do. The government has to take a stand. There are international matches. The government actually should be asked what it plans to do with the sporting ties with the BCCI. I know has given a statement.
Anshul, thank you so much for putting it in perspective for our viewers. I would like to actually get back to you, but let me actually bring in other members of the panel, and I would take a cue from the point that you have raised. Jahangir Ali, why do you think the conversation goes here? Goes to snapping of cultural, sporting ties, film ties, every time there is a terror bait, an infiltration bait, and of course something huge has happened today that's been reported out of Anantnag. But villainizing an entire nation, that is a conversation that begins. There is a politicking that happens. Even today, when we talk about what is happening in Jammu, there was protest by the Shiv Sena Dogra community where they were busy attacking the India Alliance or the PDP over statements where the leaders had said that dialogue must continue with Pakistan. Why this politicking?
Thank you for having me on the show. I think I will take ahead from where Anshul left behind. The thing is that when Pulwama happened, the government of India decided that we should not continue any kind of a relationship with India, be it a diplomatic relation, be it the cricketing relationship, or be any other kind of a relationship, which is why there was a tit for tat from both the countries. The embassies were closed and other things happened. But in the past 4 years, as you must have realized by now, that things have not changed for bad. In fact, the violence in Kashmir has been happening. It has the level of violence has come down, but there have been some very deadly attacks on security forces, and most of them have been linked to Pakistan. So boycotting Pakistan, snapping the ties with the country, does not serve the interest of India. I think it's better to better for the both the countries to have some kind of a dialogue at some point. If you also see that Pakistan is also not in a state where this is just as an offside, that it's not in a state where it can engage with India because of the political breakdown that has happened, the takeover by the generals in Rawalpindi, and all those things that are going on in the
But
country
Mr.
right
Jagir
now.
Ali, more
So, but for
than it
India, it is
benefiting
important
India,
to
the kind of
have a honest
situation that
country.
Pakistan currently is, and we're talking about the economic crisis the country is also going through. If we see, and this is an established fact, that terror continues to emanate out of Pakistan, there is going to be an international alienation that the country is going to suffer from. FATF, they have been on the grey list so many times. It's been a trouble with the IMF where we're seeing the country in right now when we talk about what kind of financial crisis the country is being in.
That is precisely
And
my point.
yet, in spite of all, despite everything that is happening, which is bad for and detrimental for the nation, terror continues to emanate out of its soil. So the questions are important ones that need to be asked of Pakistan.
That is precisely my point. India, because Pakistan is at its lowest ebb. India has an advantage where it can get hold of the country and get international community to get involved in resolving all the problems that exist between the two countries. I think that India is in a very strong position to make a negotiation to get out of this turmoil that has been playing on in Kashmir.
Okay. All right. Let me also, on this note, welcome Farooq Renzu Shah, who's a former bureaucrat who's also joined us on the broadcast. Mr. Shah, in fact, let me actually take that question to you. There was a point that earlier was made by Anshul Avijit of the Congress party. We tried to contact members of the Bharatiya Janata Party. They are refusing from being part of this conversation at least. Why do you think that is? We are talking on a day where something hugely upsetting has happened to the country, where we have lost our brave Jawans, officers, colonels, majors, and also the Deputy Superintendent of Police. It's a huge blow to the security apparatus of the country, and it's very, very apparent that all of this terror is coming in from the other side of the border, and yet nothing is really being done about it. And the party, which is of course the ruling party in the country, is on a celebratory stance when it is about G20, and that will be the obvious criticism that the BJP will have to actually bat.
Yeah, I tell you one thing, this Kashmir has become a problem, and for some political parties, Kashmir has become an interest point to garner the votes. And in Kashmir particularly, from 1947 itself, when Kashmir was divided into pieces deliberately, because under the covenant and under the agreement and under the accession, it is the entire, including Gilgit-Baltistan, up to the Khanjri Pass and Durand line, is supposed to be part of the accession. But you might have seen no ruling party so far has vociferously taken the stand that give us our territory back. And that is now how they use the Pakistan is that from Ziaul Haq time, when he intruded in the radical
But my question to you is very simple. Why is the Bharatiya Janata Party taking the high moral ground when they also are busy doing other things that are important politically to them, even as the nation grieves the loss of its Jawans?
This is your question is to your party, Bharatiya Janata Party. I am completely a non-political personality, but at the same time, I'm telling you that they should have participated in this, and they should take the stand. I am aghast that local political parties have taken the stand of such negotiations which have resulted and ignited the violence, and violence suited them only for garnering the votes. Like what is in Kashmir voting? Kashmir voting is when you have a lot of militancy and when such drastic actions happen, when the young persons die, when all types of even when they were the ruling, they would kill even innocent people also.
Okay.
And this violence is suiting political parties for votes, and they want this to continue. whosoever is a political party are using the same phenomena which they should have avoided, and they should have cried and yearned for the peace, because we don't want this violence. We have seen a lot of destruction in Kashmir. But for getting power, I think who is presently what is the slogan of 370? It is supported by Pakistan. So it is a Pakistani slogan. In this name of this slogan, now they want a new violence, chain of violence in Kashmir.
All right.
And every political
Mr. Shah,
party
thank you so much for
taking
sharing
advantage
those
of
views. Let me actually first bring in Major General A.K. Sivach also, because he's yet left to speak on this conversation that we are having. Major General Sivach, given everything, where do you see politics really being played, and how do you actually read this sort of stance by political parties, even the ones calling in for a dialogue and even the ones who are in fact wanting to snap ties with Pakistan? When something as horrific as this has happened, do you think this politicking should be done at all?
No, Griha, there is no doubt. There is no question of having any dialogue with Pakistan. Until unless Pakistan does not leave this terrorism as a tool of instrument, we are not going to have any talk. You can't have a talks and peace together, and there is no doubt. You see that Pakistan very cleverly trying to divert the attention. What's happening in POJK and Gilgit Pakistan? There is a lot of protest which is going on. Whether it is Muzaffarabad, Mirpur, Kotli, or it is in Gilgit Pakistan, where people are telling that open the road from Skardu to Kargil, because the condition there is atrocious. They want to now join India. At the same time, the G20 which has happened has been done extremely well by India. Then Chandrayaan 3 which has landed in the south pole of moon. All these activities are not to the liking of Pakistan, and they have, this incident has taken. I suppose we are on a slight back foot, that we have lost 2 officers of Indian Army and 1 police officer. But this is an aberration. We will bounce back. The situation overall in Jammu and Kashmir is quite peaceful and normal. I can say with a lot of authority, I've served there for almost 20 years. The violence level has reduced. The number of terrorists have less than about 100. And the way, the violence has been curbed, terrorism is being wiped off, including from South Kashmir. What is not being reduced to that extent which we like is radicalization in South Kashmir. It needs to be brought down more. But as far as other parameters of development are concerned, see, the tourism is record time. There are medical institutions.
So all that of course is part of the discourse, Major General Sivach. But I really want to understand now what we've seen in Anantnag is the terrorists using newer pastures to actually get into this side of the line of control. And of course, security apparatus needs to be working overtime to stop that infiltration bit, which has been heavily endorsed by Pakistan. You are saying Kashmir has seen a lot of change, but when it comes to these newer avenues of entering into India, using porous borders like Nepal, how does one deal with it?
Absolutely. I agree with you. You see, as far as our counter-infiltration grid on line of actual control is concerned, is quite stable and robust. Now they have opened another front, Rajouri and Punch, because that area was a dormant. That is south of Pir Panjal. They are trying to activate that, but still they are not successful. Yes, I agree with on this point that the border between India and Nepal is porous. From there can be some terrorists come. But certainly you cannot have a zero infiltration. It is humanly impossible to say that you will not allow any terrorists, because it is not impossible to have so much to guard 1 meter to 1 meter. But certainly the counter-infiltration grid is very, very stable. I commanded a brigade in Machal, in Kupwara. I can say with a lot of conviction that the counter-infiltration grid is very stable. Counter-terrorism grid is very stable. They have started this hybrid warfare. The hybrid warfare is that they were using a small weapon like pistol, and on an innocent person they were hitting it. Except this incident which has taken place, wherein you have lost a commanding officer of 19 RR and 1 company commander and the DSP. I certainly say yes, we are on a back foot as far as this operation is concerned, but we'll bounce back. Overall, the situation is still very normal. Things are improving. All parameters of peace and development are ticked, and you will see it. The elections at grassroots level, District Development Council election, Panchayat election have taken place, 65% to 75% participation. Delimitation process is already over. There are going to be assembly election. So we should not judge it by what has happened in one incident, but we should overall take it. But let me tell you one thing.
No, but what are your views about India taking the hard stance? Would you support that? Should India stop all ties with Pakistan?
You know, we have stopped all the ties with Pakistan. We are not having any bilateral ties.
Cricket continues, and that's what we are discussing today, because unfortunately, even during the course of the day, when we opened our phone lines today, Major General Sivach, the number of people who joined us from various parts of the country, at least 90% of those people are of this view that cricketing ties between India and Pakistan should also be snapped. How does one read that sentiment of India?
No, Griha, I agree with it, but certainly we are bilateral ties as far as the cricket is not there. It is only the international ties where you have to also honor that. But certainly I want to only convey one more point, that what is happening is that there are about 10,000 Lashkar-e-Toba and Jaise Mohammed terrorists still sitting in the training area and launch pad in Pakistan. You know, Pakistan occupied Kashmir. They are equipped with all those weapons which were left by the Americans in Afghanistan. So Pakistan is not going to get them inside Pakistan. He is trying to send them toward India. That you must take it. Today Pakistan is a victim of terrorism created by themselves. You know, Hillary Clinton, when she came in 2013, she warned them that if you think that you have got a snakes in your courtyard and you think that your only neighbor...
You were quoting what the External Affairs Minister said, but let me actually bring in Anshul Avajit. Even if Pakistan says, Anshul, that they are a victim of terror, something that has been breeding on its own ground, despite all of that, what is really leading to this brazenness? The country is in distress, the people are in distress, and yet this continues to happen. If at all, there is a tough stance that India really takes against snapping of for snapping of the cricketing ties as well, this is going to hurt the nation really badly. What do you think is actually egging Pakistan all despite everything which is against it?
Well, precisely for that reason, and also the reason that this is an election year, and we know that terrorist activities step up during an election year. You know, at this moment, politically, diplomatically, Pakistan seems to be very weak. There's a caretaker government. Imran has been ousted. The army is back in control. It's a vulnerable position for Pakistan, particularly in the economic front. And we know that there is a logical sort of correlation between our election year, between economic weaknesses, between a political lacuna and the kind of terrorism that exists. Now, the other very important point, I think, it's about the Anantnag incident yesterday tells us that the ferocity of the attack, in which three top-level security personnel were killed, tells us the kind of weaponry that Pakistan has. I mean, they were completely wiped out. Now, there are certain kind of steel core bullets that were left behind when the US left Afghanistan, and a number of weapons that were left behind that were subsequently passed on to Afghan gun runners, who passed it on to terrorist organizations, I believe, in Pakistan, who are using it now. Do we have sufficient material to match that? They've got top-class weaponry with them. They've got nighttime binoculars. They've got all kinds of high-grade weaponry with them to attack Indian personnel with, and they've been successful. It does show that they've been successful. Now, we have developed our ties with the Afghan government. It's not just about Pakistan. We have developed ties with the Taliban government in Afghanistan. In the budget this year, in fact, 200 crores were allotted to them as aid, while they are supplying weapons via Pakistan to be used against security personnel here. There was a mission that went to Taliban. All this has to be seen. I mean, it's not just, it's a multi-pronged
Okay, so two important points that you have mentioned, Anshul. First, I would want Mr. Farooq Shah to respond to this. Farooq, one thing that the Congress also has touched upon is that this entire terror activities and everything gets heightened during an election year. Something that has been reiterated. It was a controversy in the past, something that was referred to by Anshul Avijit at the start of this debate, where he was referring to the Pulwama incident as well. I really want to understand this entire narrative shift accusation that is latched on to the ruling party. Every time where we see an attempt like this, that, this should be politicized, it will of course be used by the BJP for its benefit as far as elections are concerned. How does one see it? Because like I have been mentioning, there was an attempt to go ahead, just talk about it, talk about the political aspect of it, talk about the leaders who are wanting a dialogue, diss those leaders, and in turn garner votes vis-a-vis that. How do you respond to that?
I responded with this thing that it is not the present ruling party or the earlier Congress ruling party which has brought this terror to Kashmir. It is from the Operation Tupac, from Ziaul time, that you enter and capture, enter inside and give 1,000 cuts to India. So it is the operation, and present army establishment is part of that operation from continuity till now. Now, to whom these things suit? Who are the people who take a benefit, like those brigade of the local parties who say Pakistan Zindabad in the assemblies? This type of violence suit them because they take side stances, which are stances to give cuts to India, and their approaches is to give the cut to India. So therefore, I believe that the present terror situation, which is there, going on, and which is going to be ignited, it is going to be ignited by the foreign forces, where Afghanistan also seemed to be very much active because of the clergy, which has been introduced after 19 Kashmir, who are telling Ghazwatul Hind. And they say Ghazwatul Hind, they are the radical terror. And their radical terror turns the people's sentiments.
Okay, but you're still not answering my question, Mr. Farooq Shah. Let me actually bring in Jahangir Ali. Jahangir Ali, the other point that Anshul Avjit was making was about the terror infrastructure that Pakistan really brings in, something that has not been able to be combated beautifully by India. How does one respond to that, considering, is it that snazzy that the Indian security forces are really not able to do anything about it? And if that were the case, then this is really something which is crucial, and it needs to be dealt with more importantly than any of this politicking.
I mean, it's very important to understand the terrain that in which the security forces are operating, especially in case of this Anantnag encounter.
Yes.
It's a hilly area. There is absolute darkness, and there's no understanding of the routes of the map of the area. So you just have to go into a dark zone and perhaps run into an ambush or walk over the landmines. That is what the strategy has been. But coming to the larger point of the cricketing ties, I think both the countries, especially the cricketers from both the countries, have shown a very nice game of. They have shown that humanity still exists, and despite all the antagonism that goes on between the two countries, they have shown that we can and we should move ahead with happiness and taking that forward. That spirit, and while also at the same time isolating those elements who are responsible for all the mess that is going on in Kashmir.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me on this debate. That's all the time that I had. And we are, in fact, taking an important sort of an aspect out of this conversation, that they want the cricketing ties to sort of continue and let Pakistanis also give a befitting answer to terror that has emanated out of their soil, but they don't want to be party to it. The cricketers, the filmmakers, all of them together. In fact, earlier today, I spoke to filmmaker Vishal Bhardwaj. Remember, films have been the first casualty of snapping of ties between India and Pakistan after what had happened in the 26/11 terror attack that really wrecked Mumbai. Now, let's hear what he has to say about terror really putting pressure on sports and films and those ties with Pakistan. What are his views really on what should be done? Right now, we're talking today, it's a very unfortunate day. We've lost our officers, we've lost a colonel, an army major, Deputy Superintendent of Police in the valley. The encounter in Anantnag is still happening. But what is happening aside of that, rather than actually partaking in what the families of the martyrs might be feeling, is politics being played out. And the most important thing that's coming, not important, the most underlined facet of it that's coming out of it, that India should not play Pakistan in cricket, there should be snapping of cultural ties, and of course films have bore the brunt. Films were the first ones to bear the brunt. How do you see that as a filmmaker?
You know what is happening, it is so sad, and you know, it's so bad. You know, we lost these great army officers, and I mean, salute to our heroes, you know, and I hope they rest in peace and the family get some, but I don't know, it's very easy to say on television, but those who are going through, they know the pain. Yeah, I think, you know, I'm too small a person to say anything, but the filmmaking, as far as filmmaking is concerned, I think the art, the culture, especially the art, the fine arts, it should be kept outside the politics. Because art is the only thing, these fine arts, this music, poetry, the filmmaking, यही एक ऐसी चीज़ है जो कि हमको एक दूसरे से बांध सकती है, और ऐसा नहीं है कि जो नफ़रत है कि तो पूरा का पूरा एक देश आपको नफ़रत करता है और हम क्या सारे पूरे देश को नफ़रत करते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है. वहाँ भी राजनीति है, वहाँ भी सियासत है, यहाँ भी सियासत है, और अगर सब कुछ ठीक हो जाए तो बहुत लोगों के काम धंधे बंद हो जाएंगे, तो हम फिर किसे गाली देंगे? अगर कल हम हमारे सब लोगों के बीच में ठीक हो जाए, हम किसे गाली देंगे? कोई गाली देने के लिए नहीं रहेगा, तो कोई हमें चाहिए. सो आई थिंक इट इज़ वेरी सैड. आई डोंट नो व्हेन कभी ये ज़ख्म भरेंगे, पर ये ज़ख्म भरने ज़रूरी हैं, बिकॉज वो पुल दोबारा बनने ज़रूरी हैं. एंड एक मैच ना खेल के, एक किसी से ना गवा के, एक कोई फिल्म को बैन करके कुछ नहीं होने वाला है.
Now with that, it's time for me to slip into a very short break here on Viewpoint. But up next, Prime Minister Narendra Modi enters the Sanatan debate, raining fire on the India alliance. Has he really set the tone for 2024 fight? That's the question that we are asking on the other side.
Will prevail upon him, and he will not insist in releasing water to the Tamil Nadu, and will leave water for drinking water for the Karnataka people where Tamilians also there. So at least he will consider that.
Karnataka has to follow the law of the land. The law of the land is very clear. After 2018, the Cauvery Water Management body is constituted. It has given its verdict. If there is a problem, they have to go on appeal against the Supreme Court. And I am sure the Supreme Court will look in detail into Tamil Nadu's argument, because our farmers are suffering in the Delta region because the Kuvai cultivation has already started. So I am sure the Supreme Court will give a verdict that is supportive of Tamil Nadu's stand, because that is a natural justice also. Tamil Nadu doesn't want any extra water. Tamil Nadu wants its share of water.
Politics still continues as far as a long-standing Cauvery water dispute is concerned. Let's also now bring in our colleague Purnima Murli, who is joining us on the broadcast. Purnima, look at the voices that are coming in as far as Karnataka government is concerned. They're only upping the ante. They're saying we have no more water to share. We're now going to take a look as far as a legal route is concerned. Possibly we'll have a delegation in the national capital as well. What is the response that's coming in from the Tamil Nadu government?
Well, the Tamil Nadu government also says that there's a case coming up on the 21st of September. They will, if needed, they will also take the legal route, but also says that they will wait for the Supreme Court case, and also tells the farmers that they will try their best and ensure that that the farmers are not impacted in any way at all. That's the word that's coming in from Tamil Nadu government, even as the Karnataka government has upped the ante, but still the war of words is only going to escalate between the two states, considering that Tamil Nadu also is now exploring all the legal routes possible and waiting for the case in the Supreme Court. So we'll have to wait and see how that pans out, but the next stage is going to be very crucial.
Purnima, unfortunately, we will have to leave that conversation there. Thanks a lot for getting us all those details. Let's now shift our focus to what's happening in Karnataka. The Karnataka government held an all-party meeting yesterday in Bengaluru as far as the Cauvery water issue is concerned. Now, this was an emergency meet that was held after the CWRC had directed the Karnataka government to release 5,000 cubic of water from Cauvery river for the next 15 days. Chief Minister Sitaramaiah has clearly stated that the state is not in a position to release water to the neighbouring state. The Chief Chief Minister has even sought time from the Prime Minister to take an all-party delegation to the national capital to try and discuss the same issue. It was further unanimously decided that a dispute panel will be approached and a petition will be filed in the Apex Court on the matter. Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has also written a letter to the Union Water Resource Minister seeking his intervention to review the CWRC's decision, while the state will decide on the release of the Cauvery water after discussion with legal experts. There's some reactions coming in from the Deputy Chief Minister, D.K. Shivkumar as well, who we're understanding will fly to the national capital to try and speak to the Union Minister of Water Resources and try and convey the situation.
We have taken a decision in the all-party meeting that we'll make an application before the Cauvery River Regulatory Committee again, stating that we have no water and explaining the actual position which is prevailing in Karnataka and also prevailing in Tamil Nadu. And also we have decided in the all-party meeting to approach the Supreme Court with a petition against the orders of the, recommendatory orders of the Cauvery Water Regulatory Committee. See, we don't have water actually. We will meet the legal team.
In Delhi, sir?
In Delhi.
To convey the same message?
Yes, yes.
There is about 98 TMC of water should have been left. We have left only 37 TMC of water because there is no water. See, more than 130 years in this last August and September, such a worse situation had not arisen. That is a very serious drought we have been facing the last 2 months. I will place the fact before the committee. We have already instructed our legal team to just wait for our decision. We will discuss and we will take a call. I think Honorable Minister is in Rajasthan. I spoke to his office. I am going to meet him, explain the situation. We will place our stand before.
My stand is always for pro-Karnataka, and which I want to tell our Tamil Nadu government also that they must consider it. Think about the crores of people living in, Tamilians living in Bangalore and surrounding areas. So they will be also facing the drinking water problem. So I think good sense will prevail upon him, and he will not insist releasing water to the Tamil Nadu, and will leave water for drinking water for the Karnataka people where Tamilians also there. So at least he will consider that.
Karnataka has to follow the law of the land. The law of the land is very clear. After 2018, the Cauvery Water Management body is constituted. It has given its verdict. If there is a problem, they have to go on appeal against it to the Supreme Court.
Welcome back. You're watching Viewpoint with me, Griha. Now, the politics over Sanatan Dharma continues, and this time it's the Prime Minister batting from the front against the statements that have been made about Sanatan Dharma by the DMK that were later endorsed by some of its alliance partners. So, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today launched a fierce attack against the India alliance, addressing a public rally in Madhya Pradesh's Bina. In fact, Prime Minister Modi said that the India bloc that he in fact chose to address and refer to as the N18L alliance wants to abolish Sanatan Dharma, and they have a hidden agenda to attack Indian culture by attacking Sanatan Dharma. The DMK in response has refused to budge from its earlier stance, as they maintain that Sanatan Dharma is a divisive ideology. And with this approach, the party also continues to force its allies to firefight, who, while distancing themselves, have not yet condemned the remarks from top DMK leaders. They, however, do accuse the BJP of divisionary politics. Now remember, this has been a raging controversy for many weeks now, and as India is on the road to 2024 general elections, we would like to assess if Prime Minister Narendra Modi will now use this as ammunition to set the tone for the elections by placing the Sanatan storm front and center. And then, if that happens, how is the India bloc, especially the Congress party, planning to dodge the blow, especially in states like Madhya Pradesh, for example?
ये इंडी अलायंस उस सनातन संस्कारों को, परंपरा को समाप्त करने का संकल्प लेकर के आए हैं।
Sanatana did not unite India. Everybody here, wow, Sanatana only divided Indians, Hindus. That he should understand.
हिंदू धर्म के विषय में या किसी भी धर्म के विषय में अगर डिबेट करना चाहें तो हमारा नेता 5 मिनट में इनको चित्त कर देगा।
हमारा सभी धर्मों के बीच में समन्वय होना चाहिए, प्रेम होना चाहिए, भाईचारा होना चाहिए, ये आम आदमी पार्टी का मानना है।
Opening this up to my panel this evening, Nitin Jain of the BJP is with us. Anshul Avijit continues to be with us from the Congress party. R. Raj Gopalan, who's a senior journalist, is also joining us this evening. And with us is also George Kullian, who's a political analyst. Mr. Nitin Jain, let me actually begin with you. Prime Minister now wading into this entire controversy. We had in fact received word from the earlier meeting that was attended by the Prime Minister, how he had in fact asked members of the Bharatiya Janata Party to take a constitutional position on this debate on Sanatan Dharma. Now, he himself is launching a scathing attack at the opposition. How does one read this?
Well, if you're going to raise a point, you are going to get an answer about that. And that is as simple as that. If you're going to call us HIV, malaria, leprosy, dengue and all of those things, you are going to get a response with that. The problem is that this entire alliance, the so-called alliance, they come out and they have been calling us names since forever. So, for example, Congress has coined an entire term of Hindu terrorism. They said Ram does not exist. And whenever there's an election, they will come out with Hanumanji ki jai. And in Madhya Pradesh right now, they held an entire Hindu conclave that was happening there. So that is the difference between a Chunavi Hindu and a Hindu. हिंदुओं को बुरा लगता है और अगर आप कुछ बोलोगे तो जवाब आपको उसका सुनना पड़ेगा. So if you have a problem that the Prime Minister has responded to something that was an insult to an entire community and the opposition collectively today, they will come collectively and give a statement on who all they are going to oppose in the media, who all they will boycott in the media, वो collective एक list आएगी. लेकिन as an opposition alliance, they will not come out and say what their stand is on somebody who has been calling names to Hinduism. Individually, they will come out and say, nahin, we are all secular and we respect everything, but some of their leaders will still come out and call us names. So this bifurcation in their ideology and in their stand as an opposition so-called alliance, I don't understand where the alliance is. So if one of their partner is calling us HIV, AIDS and leprosy, let the Congress party or this alliance come out and take a stand on that. Why is there no stand? And you can come out and question why the Prime Minister is taking a stand on this. We will. We will always take a stand.
Anshul, this is a question that is doggedly following everywhere the Congress party is going. Members of the India Alliance who have not really been willing to stand with the arguments that have been made against Sanatan Dharma by DMK leaders. Selective stance by the Congress, by many members of the India bloc. How do you choose to respond to it?
No, we have taken a stand. We have taken a stand that inflation is almost 7%. That is widespread poverty.
Respond this.
Let's talk about, exactly. Yeah,
Diti, I will. Into what about right now? Take a stand on Sanatan Dharma.
Because there have been members of the Congress party who have supported the statements that have been made by the DMK leaders. Congress party later said that they distance themselves, no condemnation is happening. And this is a recurring question that we've been asking in every debate that we do on
This is not
Sanatan
the
Dharma.
question that we want to indulge in. This is BJP's favorite topic, is
Then don't
deployment
raise those
of religion.
issues.
let him
Ask
respond.
your
Hang on a
alliance
minute. Nidhi, let him
partners
respond.
to stop talking about all of
Nidhi,
these
let him
issues.
respond. I request you to please let him respond. There cannot be a conversation, a dialogue like this. Let him respond. Yes, Anshul, please.
If she likes to finish, she can make her point.
No, please go ahead, Anshul, please.
Yeah. Well, whatever. BJP's favorite topic is the deployment of religion in politics, which is to mask every other thing that is going on in this country, which is the economic affairs of this country, which has been thrown under the bus, including inflation, unemployment, weak manufacturing. The exports are plummeting. There is poverty all around, despite what the government says. There is no consensus. There is no statement on a caste census. You haven't even had a general census up till now
but
to
Anshul,
know exactly what your population is.
If this is your response to the question that I am asking, this will be a
to every
diversion. No, but you're here on the debate to be part of this debate. You have to respond to certain questions that have been posed. And this is the major question that will be plaguing the India Alliance. Anshul, hear me out. Hear me out. I really want to understand this from the Congress party. Since you are representing the Congress party, I really want to understand this of you. Because here, there are serious questions that are being raised over the future of the alliance. If you cannot be one with this ideology, why is DMK... Why is the DMK going about making the question right now? That is the discourse that is there, and this obviously needs a serious answering, because you are not able to. No, it's not about BJP raising it or not. It's not about BJP raising it or not. It's about the fact that you're dodging the question. Why are you dodging the question?
I'm not dodging the question. I'm coming to the right question. It's for me to decide how to answer it. No? You can't
decide the question.
Just like the BJP forces religion into politics. Every single... Look, I'll tell you what the problem in right now, what is happening. The BJP's favorite notion about politics is how to get religion in and play ball with it. They found an appropriate way to do it. We do not want to indulge in it at all, right? Because that is what they would like to do, to mask their inadequacies and their failures. Why should I indulge in what the BJP wants to do?
But that is what your alliance partner has done. And I totally take your comment that you've said about BJP. Okay, fine, they want to indulge in religious politics. But why is the DMK giving them ammunition? Is the big question. Why are the DMK leaders not stopping? One after the other, there have been comments that have been made that can be used as ammunition, which the BJP has gone ahead and done. So how can you accuse them of only playing religious politics? You have given them on a platter.
The Prime Minister will keep talking about this ad nauseum, unremittingly, till this election is over. Mark my words. Will you have a show every day on it? Right? Because what they want to do, they are not the last word on Bharatiya Sanskriti and Bharatiya Parampara and tradition and culture as if they are the great saviors of it, and nobody else is. And what they say, people are against this country or if they're not for them. It's an absolutely absurd logic. And I don't want to pander to that logic. Why should I? Okay. You can't force me into it, can I? It is all to mask the Adani affair, China sitting on your territory, your economic woes, and what you want to triumph is those kind of G20 success. Are you going to tell that person who is grief-stricken because he cannot buy any vegetables from the market, but listen, we've taken G20 to the people. Is that what you're going to tell him? These are things that are there to mask the realities, the harsh realities that India is facing today. I do not want to enter into that debate about religion at all, because this is not what we're going to do. It is an attempt, a desperate attempt at polarization, and I refuse to enter into it.
Okay, all right. Mr. Rajgopalan, where do you see this going?
Just give me 30 seconds.
No, I need to first get in the other speakers and then I'll come back to you. You can mark your points, note it down, and I'll come back to you. You can respond to Anshul. Mr. Rajgopalan, even as the Congress party and members of the India bloc say that they do not want to indulge in this sort of a narrative which they say is being endorsed, and this is what is being wanted by the Bharatiya Janata Party, my question is that haven't the alliance partners really given that to the Bharatiya Janata Party on a platter? And if this is what the politicking has gone on to be, it is the DMK and in turn India bloc responsible for it. And in that case, when they choose to stay away from that conversation, how does one read this?
Madam Griha, what you said is absolutely correct. not only the DMK has given the BJP Madhya Pradesh victory for BJP on a silver platter. Why not the BJP capitalize it? They will definitely. Yesterday, when that India alliance met, did they come out with any resolution on this? Though individually they speak out, but collectively they don't. Apart from that, I would also urge there is a policy decision India alliance should take. Much before that, they take something, this anchor should not be told, we should not go. That type of policy decision they can take. They will boycott the television, but they don't speak on Sanatana Dharma. Apart from that, I tell you, Griha madam, Ganesh Chaturthi is tomorrow, next week. Will DMK greet the public, Hindus? And Deepavali, never Mr. Stalin, given greetings to Deepavali day. They object Hindus. A.K. Anthony report in 2014, I would like to show the mirror to the Congress spokesperson. 2000 report, A.K. Anthony report I have. That clearly says, that is why A.K. Anthony is sidelined in Congress. He has very categorically stated that we should not antagonize the upper caste, no question of appeasement of the minorities. We should not go after Sanatana Dharma. It is very categorically written in that. Still, if Congress wants to distance, have a smell the coffee, that's all.
Okay. Mr. George Kurian, when it is about the DMK stance against Sanatan Dharma, it has been well known. The fact that BJP is now milking it is also owing to the fact that there have been recurring statements that have been made by leaders and members of the Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam. Do you think that is why that ammunition is has been granted to the Bharatiya Janata Party? It is a miss by the DMK or the alliance partners of the India bloc? Or do you think they're just making too much out of a molehill?
Well, first of all, Griha, very good evening to you, my co-panelist on the show, and to your audience. Let me begin by saying that Sanatan Dharma is eternal. It will remain eternal. There is no two ways about it. Having said that, somebody who is holding constitutional position should refrain from making such statements which gives ammunition to the Bharatiya Janata Party, because this is what they want. And I would want the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Modi, to come up with the development agenda that he has done in the last 9 years of his tenure, rather than getting into some name calling and hand-picking on statements from DMK leaders for that matter. The Congress party has been categorically very clear on its stand. They have refrained from endorsing such a statement which has come from Udayanidhi Stalin, to make it very clear. And also the Congress party respects all religion and faiths, and they want to carry everybody along. It's not that the Congress party is trying to corner any religion for that matter. And I strongly believe that Sanatan Dharma also has some key principles. Let me make it clear for your audience. It's karma, dharma, moksha, yoga, and ahimsa. If Mr. Modi or any leader or any union leaders of the Bharatiya Janata Party understand the definition of these words that I've mentioned to you, I'm sure they will, the way they speak, the way they preach, the way they function will change for good for the nation. And so I strongly believe that, all this G20 and all this hope show is very nice, but trying to corner the Congress party or their India alliance on the basis of some statement here and there is not really something which is uncalled for.
George Kurian, while you say that, where is that breaking of chain really happening? Because even as the Prime Minister, let's say, made that statement in Madhya Pradesh, he has in fact said a lot, despite the Congress, and Anshul Avijit was mentioning that he doesn't want to be partaking in any conversation which is to do with religion. Why play up on a conversation that the BJP wants to play up on? Where does the DMK really stop? Today also Ellen Govan came up with a statement, asked the Prime Minister what does he even know about Sanatan. Why does he have to go ahead and keep that engagement happening?
Well, from what I understand, that Mr. Stalin, the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, has very categorically made it clear to their leaders that not to indulge in any kind of television bites with respect to Sanatan Dharma. I'm not sure about why the statements.
No, but the statements are making. All right, Mr. Rajgopalan wants to make a point. Yes, Mr. Rajgopalan.
No, Stalin did not make it. Further, he instigated them. Though he says Stalin did not clarify it. He supported his son, Udayanidhi. And today, Ilangovan is coming out with to your channel a short while ago. DMK should clarify. And second thing, Griha, my point is, collectively they should come out, as Mr. George Korean has just now said. Why can't they put it as a resolution in India Alliance? They should. That then only it will clarify why Congress is striking the responsibility. Why Congress is running away from that? Because Chunavi Hindus, on the day of Chunavi they will put Jarayug. On the day of Chunavi they will go to Mandir. After that they will abuse Mandir. So therefore Congress
There's a second
is
time
doing
that this point is being raised. One has been it has been made by Nidhi already. I would actually pose that question to Anshul. But Nidhi, let me actually ask you this one question. And this was a term that was also used by Mr. Rajgopalan, interestingly. The Prime Minister and all the members of the Bharatiya Janata Party are choosing to refer to the India bloc as an India alliance. They do not even want to use the acronym. Why is that? Why is that happening? And there is a stress on the word India alliance.
Because the last word in I.N.D.I.A is
that's
alliance.
Obvious,
so it is
that's
essentially
the obvious way.
India alliance.
But the whole point is that's the whole point. That's the whole point that the opposition has been making, that they are rattled with the fact that we've come up with this name, and that's why this nomenclature. And of course, this debate will go somewhere else. But today also it was a very, very specific statement that the Prime Minister had made.
No, I think you're just reading too much into it. It is an India alliance. You can't call it India alliance. That's calling alliance twice. So that's not the point. The main point that I want to make about both Anshul ji and George Kurian ji, sir, एक तो सबसे पहले हमें हिंदुत्व सिखाइए मत. It's धर्म, कर्म, ज्ञान, मोक्ष. उसमें आप बाकी सब चीजें मत लेकर आइए. These are the 4 pillars that Hindutva talks about. So no matter who you talk to in our party will give you more gyan than whatever you will give us. The other point being, if you do not want this to be the narrative, don't raise these points. Don't raise the points that you are not well versed with or you don't want to get into. If you want to create an agenda, at least come out with that agenda in your meetings, no? If you want to talk about the economy, then let that be your agenda. Why is it that your alliance partners will come out, call us names, and then you have a problem if we stand for it? If there was a statement about any other religion, this entire alliance would stand together and do whatever needs to be done. It is just the BJP that has consistently been talking for the Sanatan Dharma and the Hindutva, and that is why you all can come out and call us names all together. And it is not just the DMK. It is also the Aam Aadmi Party leaders. It is also the Congress leaders. It is also the JDU leaders. It's a systematic attack on Hindutva and Hindus. And that remains the point. If you call us names, you will hear the answer, no matter what.
Okay, Anshul, respond to the point that Nidhi has made. I would also like to add to you by asking, do you think that entire attempt, what you began by saying that this is all that we want to speak about, all of that attempt by the alliance has been completely dislodged and derailed by the statements that have been made by our alliance partners? And that remains the crucial question. It will be recurring throughout. And when you say that you do not want to indulge in conversations around religion, why is that there is a selective sort of a treatment, the Chunavi Hindu argument that the BJP is making? When it comes to a state like Madhya Pradesh, you're okay with that conversation, but not right now?
No, the India Alliance on its common points, which is basically secularism, social justice, inclusive growth, is absolutely robust and strong. We had a coordination committee meeting just yesterday. There is nothing to shake up the alliance. In fact, as you rightly pointed out, the BJP seems to be rattled completely because it's been going on from one name to another by calling it something or the other. First you call it fraudulent, then you relate it to a terrorist organization. I mean, the kind of tacky and kitsch language that the Prime Minister has used for the India Alliance, the Prime Minister himself, by the way, there's nobody else, right? It is really shameful. But nonetheless, I want to begin by that point that the Prime Minister himself made, which seems to be that there should be a constitutional response to anything that has happened. The constitutional response is that we are a secular country.
When did he say that?
Preserve the secular country. That is the
1 second. Let him make his point. Yeah. Anshul,
madam,
go ahead.
आप बोल लीजिए फिर.
नहीं, आप बोलिए, Anshul, please.
नहीं,
please go ahead.
आप ही बोल लीजिए ना.
Yeah, I'll go to Nidhi. Please make your point. Anshul.
नहीं, मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि the Prime Minister said, according to what you just said and what has been reported, is that the BJP should have a constitutional response. The only constitutional response to any such matter.
I'm really sorry, Anshul. I'm really sorry, all the panelists. We have some important piece of breaking news that we are getting on the broadcast. We have to cut across to that. As BRS ventures Learjet 45 aircraft, we are told, VTDBL, which was operating flight from Visakhapatnam to Mumbai, was involved in a railway excursion. It veered off the runway, I beg your pardon, while landing on the runway 27 of the Mumbai airport. In fact, we also given to understand that there were 6 passengers and 2 crew members on board. Visibility was 700 meters because of heavy rain, and that's when that incident really has happened. This is an important piece of news that we are getting to you. This is the operating flight that was going from Visakhapatnam, was coming into Mumbai. This was involved in a runway excursion. It veered off the runway while landing at the Mumbai airport. My colleague Yasha Kotak has all the details. Yasha, we know about certain passengers who were there on board and also 2 crew members. Just first tell our viewers about the safety of the people on board. What do we know?
So yes, there were, like we've mentioned, 6 passengers on board, of which, apart from that, there were also 2 crew members. Now this particular veer-off, as we understand from our sources, took place because of heavy rain. The visibility was also approximately 700 meters, and this was a private flight which was operating from Vizag to Mumbai. Now, after this veer-off, there have been 3 people who've been injured. They've been taken to a private hospital.
Okay.
As far as the source-based information is concerned, there have been no casualties that have been reported so far.
All right,
Yes.
all right, Yasha. Thank you so much for that information. Let me actually quickly take this across to my colleague Ridhima Bhatnagar, who's also joining us on the broadcast. Ridhima, we are given to understand that before this instance, 2 aircraft, one of Akasa Air and the other one of Vistara, also these 2 flights were diverted to Goa. Why was this particular flight allowed to land here if there was so much of weather bearing that had happened?
Jay, as you rightly pointed out, because of the weather conditions, it's a very fluid situation. So the call is taken on a flight-by-flight basis. So we still don't have clarity of what the weather conditions were just before the ATC actually gave permission to this charter aircraft. But I just want to give better context to our viewers. Initially, a lot of reports were suggesting that there has been a crash at the Mumbai airport. So we just want to clarify that there was no crash. It was just this charter flight, which, as Yasha was rightly pointing at, 8 people on board. It just veered off as far as the runway is concerned. Initial reports were suggesting that there were no casualties on board, but now we're understanding 3 people, in fact, have had minor injuries and they're currently being treated. What this eventually led to was the runway operations being completely shut off till authorities could get all the people out. And this resulted into multiple delays and disruptions as well. The runway operations were shut for a good 1 hour, but now the update that we can bring to our viewers is that operations have resumed.
Right, Ridhima, thank you so much for sharing in that piece of important information. And on that note, I'm slipping, in fact, I would hand it over to my colleague Shivani, who's joining you on the other side with Plain Speak. That's it from me.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Amidst non-stop attacks by the DMK on Hinduism, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today took on the India bloc and pointed out that these comments have begun to flow after the latter's Mumbai meet and turned them strategized attempt to, quote, destroy Sanatan Dharma. Prime Minister made these comments in Chhattisgarh as well as in Madhya Pradesh, where he is campaigning for the upcoming assembly polls, and urged all Sanatanis to